The views and opinions expressed in this show do not represent those of Cal State Fullerton, the College of Health and Human Development, or the Kinesiology program.
Ready, aim, fire.
Welcome to Kinesiology 101, the podcast for kinesiology majors by kinesiology majors. Every week we bring you a new and exciting guest with tons of knowledge and experience both in and outside of the classroom here at Cal State Fullerton.
I thought Gustafson was going to get him.
Alright, you guys ready to start the show?
Get this going.
Are you guys going to do the whole intro? Am I going to hear the whole intro?
The what?
Intro.
The little music and all that stuff?
Oh, not right now. We'll do that after.
Go bring
I was about to jam out.
That's after. That's the whole editing. Yeah.
Bring a stereo, dude, and just play the music. Alright, cut.
This is a raw audio for the behind the scenes.
Baller.
Cool, so we're back here at Kinesiology 101. Jose here.
And Luis Geronimo, again, the podcast
For kinesiology majors.
by kinesiology majors.
Our guest for today is Anthony Juarez.
What's going on, guys?
He's not related to me. We have the same last name, but we're not related. But we do share a similar interest in strength and conditioning. So we got him here today to talk about several topics. Anthony, you're an alumni, right? You recently graduated from the strength and conditioning track kinesiology program here.
Yes, sir. I graduated about a year ago.
Yeah.
Just about a year ago.
Yeah, so I had you for 450.
Couple classes, right?
The program design and then a sports nutrition
Yeah.
class.
I met you in program design.
Yeah, you were staring at me like you had a problem with it.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I get that a lot. My friends like to tell me I have resting chola face. But that's what it is.
No, yeah.
So all three of us, I think I met you in 470. I even known Jose for a while, but all three of us were in nutrition 470. That's where we all met. But a little bit about Anthony. He's a boxer, and we'll let him tell us a little more about his thing and what he does. But like Jose mentioned, he is an alumni. He's back here. We're great to have him here. He's going to be talking about what he does, strength and conditioning, and how he was influenced and how he used the stuff that he learned in the classroom to apply with his boxing athletes and all that. But before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got here to the kinesiology program, and why you chose Cal State Fullerton?
All right. Well, first out of high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So I went to Orange Coast College to play basketball. I played basketball through high school. I was.
You didn't play soccer, really?
Nah, dude. I was a 4-year varsity athlete. Basketball.
Basketball, dude.
Okay.
Soccer? What is that? Yeah. So I just went to Orange Coast. I played basketball at Orange Coast. I started coaching high school basketball also right after I played Orange Coast for a little while, like a year, less than a year. I was a history major.
Really?
I was coaching high school sports. I figured, I might as well be a teacher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I actually transferred over to Cal State Fullerton with the goal of being a teacher.
Yeah.
And it didn't really work out,
I'm Escalante, dude.
I know. It wasn't as fun as I thought it was going to be. There was a lot of reading and writing, and I was like, dude, I just want to lift weights, man.
Not me.
I was like, I just wanted, my whole life I was an athlete. It just, it didn't sit well. You know what I mean? It wasn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't where I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. I actually, when I transferred over, I almost got freaking kicked out because I couldn't keep my grades up. I was getting straight C's in my history classes. I was barely passing. And then I got 1 C minus. So then I was on probation. And then I was like, oh crap. So the summertime, in an effort to stay in school, I took biology or anatomy and physiology. Biology 210, I believe it is.
Yeah, biology 210. Yeah.
Yeah, and I switched over to Kines and I got an A. And it was just dude, it just seemed like as soon as I got into the Kines program, it was like butter, dude.
Yeah.
It was I was getting all A's. I was very interested in what I was doing.
Yeah.
It was like night and day. It was what I was supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What matters the most.
Yeah, so now you're an alumni though, so what would you say you miss about the program coming back here?
About the Kines program? There's a lot of cool people around here. Professors, students, you guys, right? There's a lot of people with a lot of good knowledge. And just being around people that are so interested in the field and they have so much good information to share, dude. If I feel like there was no way I wasn't going to be successful doing what I want to do. that's probably what I miss most about being around here.
Told you we were cool.
Right?
Yeah, so I know there's probably a lot of classes that you wish you would have taken too, right?
Wish I would have taken? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you took some during the summer. I'm only guessing you wanted to take even more because
Oh, yeah.
they're becoming more and more applicable to what you're doing. What were some of the later classes that you started taking that you felt were going to start transferring over to your job, your career?
Well, the first classes that I started taking that were like the first class that I really was like, wow, this is totally applicable to what I'm doing was exercise physiology. I think it was 348.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who did you take for that?
It was Coburn.
I had him too.
Yeah,
He's awesome.
He's a cool guy, yeah, for sure, dude. That class kind of just like took me to a new light where, my dad was a bodybuilder. So like
Really?
everything, yeah, my dad is huge.
I didn't know that.
My dad's got like
Really?
50 pounds on me. In fact,
way.
he was the strongest guy that I knew for a long time. He pulled off a 540 bench press, and I thought he was the coolest guy ever. Like, that's my dad.
No way.
Yeah.
Was he in prison?
Nah, dude, come on.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
This was after he got out of prison. All right?
There we go.
Yeah. So majority of like the strength training that I would do was bodybuilding style kind of stuff.
Yeah.
X-Phys kind of just like took me into a new light where there was like so much information that was almost completely brand new to me, and I immediately started applying to my own training. After I played community college basketball, I wanted to keep competing, so I started doing like MMA stuff. I've been doing jiu-jitsu since 2010. I've competed multiple times, and I also started doing triathlon stuff.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
So I did about 7 triathlons, not very successfully, until I actually started applying
Right,
strength.
right,
I remember when I got second place in the trial, I was like, wow, dude, I'm freaking amazing. That's when I kind of got the gauge of like, hey, this stuff actually works. You know what I mean? It's not just a bunch of, bullshit pretty much.
yeah.
But later on, the classes that like really stuck with me, program design was huge. Principles of strength was huge. Even just techniques for strength was huge. Nutrition, motor learning control, psychology for sports performance. That class was, I say it was so good I took it twice, but that's only because the first time I got a C.
Oh, really?
I was gonna say.
I took it the first time I took it with Laguna, I believe.
Laguna, yeah.
Yeah, and the second time I took it with someone.
Somebody. It wasn't Laguna.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, both times it was great. It's just I didn't really, take care of business the first time around.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
What happens the first time around. So you're already done. You're done. So let's say, what were some of the classes that you would love to come back and just sit in and just get knowledge from?
I would say any kind of grad level strength conditioning kind of stuff. Any kind of grad level, just almost anything really.
Yeah.
Like I said, just being around people that are more knowledgeable than you or as knowledgeable as you, it's gonna help you.
That kind of begs me to ask you whether you want to do grad school too. Is that even an option at this point?
I've always wanted to do grad school. It's just when you start making money, it's like
It's hard to come back.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm actually in a good spot right now. So grad school it's in my mind, but it's just not at the forefront of my mind right now. I think I definitely will.
Eventually.
I just love learning, really.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I can't imagine my life without having constant knowledge.
And I think it's not just learning in general, it's learning something that you love to do that you could apply to. Because there's no other subject I would enjoy more than this, It's all like, Jose and I have
tried history
classes. Yeah, we all have to take GEs, right? They suck. But Jose and I have sat in class. I've sat in a handful of classes just to learn, My friends know about it. They're like, you're crazy. You're like, what are you doing? You're like, no, it's just when you're passionate about it, when you find your passion and your drive, like, it comes natural. You actually find it beneficial to you. It is beneficial. Yeah. And kind of like, you don't take it for granted. The fact that the professors actually let you sit in the class to absorb all that knowledge. It's like, it's free knowledge that people pay a lot of money for. Oh, yeah. It's like, take advantage of it.
I recently sat into a class. I came down to talk to Dr. Galpin, and I brought one of my athletes down here, Ronnie Rios.
Yeah.
And he invited us to come sit into his Principles of Strength.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For 351, the undergrad.
The undergrad strength.
Yeah.
Undergrad strength.
351.
Yeah. It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun.
Was this recently?
Yeah, it was a couple months ago.
Okay.
It was pretty funny because we came in a little bit late because I'm kind of notorious for being late.
Yeah.
But he came in and he had to introduce us. He introduced me, and Ronnie makes fun of me because like one guy clapped in the back like. And then they introduced him and the whole class claps. Like, whatever, Ronnie. They're clapping for both of us, all right?
Nice. So since we're talking about Ronnie, why don't we just dive into the whole boxing thing?
You want to dive into boxing? All right, let's do it.
So I remember when you were in program design, you I mean, we would usually sit together somewhere nearby, and you would always ask questions related to boxing, related to working with your athletes. Mm-hmm. And then that's how I remember you as a boxing guy. So, and even for the tech walk, because before pit you had to do a tech walk.
Yeah.
You were a little hesitant. I remember you're like, damn, I got to find an exercise. And then out of nowhere, you came out with the punch, right?
You know, he put me on the spot. Yeah. You know what I mean? He was like, oh, who's going to go next week? You. Okay, cool. And then we're there doing the technique walk, and he's like, Anthony, what's your what?
Shit. Can I do a punch?
So you punch someone in the face.
Nice.
Yeah, boxing. Well,
tell us how you started. Like, you said you started with basketball. So how did this whole boxing thing?
Wow, it's a long story, man. But yeah, I started. I've always kind of competed throughout my whole life. Uh-huh. Basketball was my first love, and I coached basketball. I played basketball. I watched basketball. You know, it was my life. Mm-hmm. After I got done playing community college ball, you know, I'm 5'10" and I'm Mexican. You know, I'm not 360 dunking on anybody. You know what I mean? I figured it was a long shot. I'm not gonna play anywhere else. Yeah. So you know, there's only so much. For me as a competitor, there's only so much satisfaction I get out of playing in men's leagues or at the park or stuff like that. So out of the way to keep competing, I was like, you know, I love UFC stuff. I'm gonna try fighting. You know what I mean? Why not? I'm a big guy. You know what I mean? So I started doing jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu kind of became my next passion there, where I was all about jiu-jitsu for a few years. Started competing. It was a lot of fun. Then as time went on, you know, I kind of like lost track of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We all get into school. Right. You know, I got a girlfriend. I was a little bit preoccupied. Yeah. And then she broke up with me. And that's really where this whole boxing thing came about. She broke up with me, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll start fighting again. You know, I don't got to be pretty for anybody anymore. Yeah. But I went into a boxing gym down in Costa Mesa. It's called Raw Talent Boxing. Really cool gym. If you guys get a chance, check it out. In my head, it was I'm going to learn how to handle my hands better, learn how to box pretty much, so I can start doing MMA. You know, I competed in jiu-jitsu, and let's take it to the next level. Let's get in the cage. Yeah. When I went in there, as one of the trainers, you know, he had a fight coming up, or he said he had a fight coming up, and I asked him, you know, I was right in the midst of all the strength conditioning stuff. I was ex-phys, I was, you know, principal of strength, the beginning of strength conditioning. Yeah, yeah. And I was, you know, I was doing triathlons at the time too, so I was very like into what I was doing. You know, I believed in it so much, and I thought, you know, dude, this is great. So I was very willing to share my knowledge. So I kind of took him, and I said, dude, I'll train you for free, man. And we used to go out to the high school that I worked at about 5 o'clock in the morning before the kids were there, because, you know, I can't train people at the high school that I work at because it's a high school. You know what I mean? But we would go early in the morning. You know, I had keys to the weight room, and I started helping him out. I think he came in about 217. He had to make 185. Nice. And just with you know, the lifting, we put him on a strength program. We did a lot of Olympic lifts. We did a lot of plyometric stuff, a lot of high intensity conditioning stuff. We didn't do any road work, which is essentially longer distance running, which is like a staple of, you know, boxing, MMA. And he went from 217 to 195 very quick, like 4 weeks, 5 weeks. You know what I mean? And he was a very strong, explosive, you know, 195. So from there to make a cut to 185 was nothing. Yeah. So that was kind of like where I kind of just came in. You know, I was coming in to learn how to box, and I started helping out one of the trainers. He turns around and kind of tells the owner about me, who was an ex-professional boxer. It kind of still is a professional boxer. And you know, he was just kind of like, oh yeah, you want to be a trainer here? You know, you can be our strength trainer. You can work with, you know, the clientele and stuff like that. So yeah, for sure, I thought it was a cool gig. You know, so I get to kind of use what I know and do something that I like to do. So later on down the road, we got a young fighter come in. He was about 18. His name is Eric Juarez, and he came in to actually train with the owner. And the owner kind of shot him over to me. He said, "Hey, you know, he's a young guy. I believe at the time he was like 5-0-1, so 5 wins, no losses, 1 draw." And he's like, well, you know, he's a great fighter. He's got a lot of heart, but, you know, he just doesn't have the most power. His last fight was a draw because he could have knocked the guy out. He was losing the fight, he couldn't knock him out, so it ended up being a draw. Better than a loss, I guess. So I was like, all right, cool. Let me just, you know, do what I know how to do. Keep it basic. I always say, you know, we keep it fundamental. You don't have to be super extravagant and look at all the West Side stuff and all the, you know, 30% band tension, 10% chain tension. Hey, stick to what you know, man. Exactly. You know, the principles, they're there for a reason, and they work. So I was very basic in my programming. He was a young kid. He was 18. You know, I didn't have to be all super crazy with him. It was, you know, fairly linear, you know, slightly undulating kind of program here. 4 weeks. We did 4 weeks. And he goes out, and I believe he went to go, you know, fight a guy who was like 22 and like 10, like super experienced. You know, super experienced. And he goes out and stops him with body punches in the second round. Nice. So I was like, cool, you know, like this was the critique, you know, he has no power. and he's stopping guys in the second round. So I was like, dope. I was super. I remember running home telling my dad, like, hey, Dad, look what I did. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And after that was kind of my big, I had kind of like a big little turning point where, I remember like a couple challengers rolling up and some freaking truck rolling up, and they were all like murdered out. And here comes, this little guy, the 128-pounder. He's called Al, was his brother and his coach and some other guy, and the coach walks over to him. And I'm just kind of sitting there like, hey, what's going on? You know what I mean? He walks over to the owner. He's like, who's the guy you had train Eric? It's that guy right there. I'm like, oh shit. You know what I mean?
You're like, I didn't see you. What?
Yeah. He's like, yeah, we wanted to train Ronnie. So that's the first time I met Ronnie. So Ronnie Rios, he's a 23-1 professional boxer. He fights for Golden Boy. He's the coolest guy ever. He's super, super humble. I always say he's almost kind of like a kid. He's goofing around all the time, but when he gets in the ring, he's a mean motherfucker. Let me tell you. Yeah. That's when we started working with Ronnie. Same ideas. I didn't go crazy. You know what I mean? I just stuck to what I knew. At the same time, I thought it was super helpful that I was taking all these classes. They were kind of putting me in the right
direction.
Yeah, exactly. Around the same time, I also met Dr. Galpin. Dr. Galpin, he's worked with a lot of fighters, and that guy's been super, super helpful in everything that I'm doing. If I have any questions, I go straight to him. I'll email him. I'll call him. Whatever it is, and he's been very, very helpful. He's taken a lot of time to help me out, and I trained Ronnie for his fight in Chicago. It was live on Main Event on Fox Sports 1.
This was last April.
I was still in school. Yeah,
I was awesome. We were in the class.
I was in your class. Yeah. So obviously, when we had class together, these are the questions that were immediately applicable to what I was going to do like 2 hours later in the day. So I was, trying to figure this out. So, we flew out to Chicago. We watched him fight. He got a great win. It was awesome. I felt like the coolest guy ever. And I was very, very, very grateful and very proud to be in that situation.
Nice. And you came out on TV.
And I came out on TV, yeah. Actually, 2 more times. I've been on TV a couple more times, so I'm pretty happy about that. You see me in the back, like woo. Yeah. I was wearing a shirt with a green logo on, like a bright green. You could totally see.
Well, you're not wearing Fullerton strength. You let us down, man.
Sorry, bro.
You wouldn't be where you are without us.
When I make that's true, dude. I give you guys all the props in the world. Yeah,
not us. That school right there.
Everybody, man. It's all one team. Yeah. But yeah, I've been working with Ronnie now for over a year, and we've had ups and downs, but we're hanging in there, and we're gonna get a title shot soon. I know we are. He's a great fighter. He really has like the spirit of a champion. If you really like look at him, if you talk to him, like he wants to be great and he can be great. He's got all the characteristics to be a great fighter, and I'm super, super lucky to be associated with him.
That's great, man. It's awesome.
That's cool. So you also talked about working with other fighters. So I know Ronnie's kind of like the person who's probably been on TV.
He's the closest to a title right now. Yeah.
Title contender. But the other fighters, as far as summarizing your whole experience working with them, what are some of the pros and cons with particularly working with boxing fighters?
So, boxing, there's some definite pros to working with boxing. Number one, despite what you see on TV, the Adrian Broners, the Mayweathers, they're very, very humble people. Yeah. Why? I think most fighters in general are very humble people. Why? Because at one point you had to get your ass beat if you're going to be a successful fighter. If you walk into a gym, you're already the toughest guy there, you don't stay at that gym. Right. You know what I mean? You walk into the gym, these guys have been through the trenches, they've gotten their face pounded in, a lot of them, the chip teeth, black eyes, cauliflower ear, whatever it is. They've gone through war, and they're super humble, and they're super willing to learn. But at the same time, on the other side of that coin, boxing is such a traditional sport. It's so old school, like, oh, Muhammad Ali was doing this, so this is what I'm going to do. Muhammad Ali didn't lift weights, I'm not going to lift weights. You know what I mean? This fighter was running, 20 miles a day. I'm going to run 20 miles a day. Manny Pacquiao runs 10 miles a day. So
they're wearing the training mask, right? So I'm going to wear a training mask.
Yeah, so I've actually figured out good use for training masks. I'll talk about it later. But, stuff like that. Oh, well, I'm going to run 20 miles with a weighted vest before, I spar. Well, that's probably not the best idea because it's going to affect your sparring. And sparring is really where you're making money. That's where you're going to get better.
Technique.
Yeah, so it's a very traditional sport. And it's sometimes it's difficult to find that balance between I want to introduce, Olympic weightlifting into this, or I want to introduce, this kind of conditioning, a more high intensity based conditioning, and less maybe road work, less, and sometimes it's met with a little bit of, resistance, because it is a traditional sport. I've gotten a lot of critique. Well, how come heavyweight fighters nowadays can barely fight 3 rounds and get gassed back in the day, Muhammad Ali would fight like 12 rounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that go into that, you know. I can't count for every other fighter in the world. I can only account for what we're doing.
Yeah.
And one of the ways I've kind of counteracted that is I kind of treat it more as a like actual sport that has, you know, in season, postseason, preseason, off season, where, you know, boxing really doesn't have that. It's a sport where you have a fight, and this is how it was when we first started out. They would call me up. I got 8 weeks for this fight. Let's get ready. Okay. So now in my head, I'm like, I don't feel as comfortable incorporating all these heavy lifts and stuff like that. He's only got 8 weeks to get ready for the fight. So one of the ways we kind of like started incorporating these things, and they've been more open to it, is like, hey, in your off time, instead of going to Cancun for 3 months or Vegas, let's get in the gym.
Yeah.
Even the little things, reaction drills. Let's hit up my good friend. He's a chiropractor. He'll get adjusted, you know, once a week. You know, we don't even have to train hard. Just come in, get adjusted. Come and get a massage. Come and do some yoga. You know, come and do some reaction drills. Come and do some light plyometric work. You have a fight and coming up in 2 months. All right, now let's do some strength work.
Yeah.
Now let's move some weight. And when you actually fall into your 8-week camp, we'll cut back on the stuff. We'll meet once a week. We'll keep everything, you know, we'll do essentially maintenance. Like I said, let's keep them healthy. Let's keep them strong. Let's keep them activated. And then when they fight, they don't have all this burden like trying to squeeze in, you know, strength work into 8 weeks and sparring and, you know, conditioning and cutting weight. Cutting weight is huge. You know, we can spend like an hour talking about cutting weight. It's so, you know, it depends on the fighter so much, like on every single person. You know what I mean? So cutting weight is still something that, you know, we're working on as well.
Yeah.
So it seems like proving the concept to the coaches, right, of the traditional way of doing things, and then the way we're being taught and applying it, and it's backed up by science. That's one of the downfalls. And the same with having your athlete believe that his job is full-time year-round, not part-time, to where I'm only going to focus when it's time to fight, and then, like you said, let's go to a trip, let's go get fat. Because, I mean, that should be that way, right? It's not a part-time lifestyle. It should be.
And don't get me wrong. The athletes that I work with, the gym that I'm associated with, these guys are great. The coach, Hector Lopez, he's awesome. He really keeps his athletes on track. But, you know, I kind of, you know, trying to step in here and add and help and add on to the already great job that he was doing. Ronnie was, you know, 22-0 when he met me. You know what I mean? It's not like he was a struggling fighter. You know, I came in, I want to supplement that. So going along with what I said, we have to kind of also, as strength coaches, realize, you know, I'm not his head coach. You know what I mean? I can't tell him what to do, and he's got to listen to me no matter what. You know what I mean? We have to find that boundary where I want to be as helpful as I believe I can be without crossing that line where I'm going to have conflicts with the head coach, because at the end of the day, he's the head coach. Yeah. Right? So you kind of have to know your boundaries, but also be very adamant about the kind of stuff that you're, you know, preaching.
And I remember when we had 450, we had a guest towards the end. We had Ryan Parsons, right?
Yes.
And I'd never heard of the person, Ryan Parsons. He is not the strength conditioning coach, but like that coach.
Yeah, he's a coach's coach.
Coach, right? Of the fighters, of many fighters that Galpin also works with. And I remember when he came about, you know, you were also asking questions. Even afterwards, we were still talking to him. But I'm pretty sure, you know, you picked his brain about how he goes about working with those other coaches too, and how your essential job should fit in there too, right?
Yeah, Ryan's great. I've had the pleasure of working with him a couple times since that day. I remember that day. I remember that day because we asked the question, or I raised my hand and asked the question about cutting weight, and I told them about my guys and how, you know, they kind of trip out when it's time to cut weight. You know, where you got some UFC guys, some wrestlers. You know, I fought in jiu-jitsu, obviously, I kind of, you know, been familiar with it. They drop like 20 pounds. They drop like 15 pounds, you know what I mean? It's just like, to me, that's like, wow, that's a lot of weight. The most I ever dropped, like cut was like 9 pounds. That's me personally. And that was to make, you know, 185, and I came in at 183, I actually went over. So when these guys drop like 15 pounds, that was my question. Like, you know, I have a fighter, and he was like 4 pounds over, and he was tripping out, like, oh, I can't eat, I got a sauna suit, you know, treadmill it out. And he goes like, was he Mexican? And I'm like, yes.
I remember that.
That's why.
I remember that question. Yeah.
And I remember sitting in class like, should I be offended?
I'm looking at you like, dude, I got your back. I got your back.
Like, what you say about Mexican? No, just like, yeah. So, but what he meant was, and he, from my experience, he's mostly right. And most like, yeah, like Mexican fighters, sometimes they trip out about cutting a little bit of weight. You know, Ronnie, he does as well. You know, like, crap, I'm 3 pounds over. I gotta they like to be as close to weight before they weigh in as possible. Whereas there's other fighters like, oh, I'm 15 pounds off. Cool. That day off, I'm going to cut. He doesn't like to cut. And a lot of for the most part, a lot of these, I don't know about, all Latin fighters, but some Mexican fighters in general, they like to be as close as possible. They only want to cut 2, 3, 4 pounds.
Yeah.
So he was totally valid in that regards. But Ryan's great. He came, him and Galpin came down to TKO Boxing Club.
I saw the Instagram picture.
Yeah.
Nice.
And he tested some for his hand wraps. He has a hand wrap called Radius Wraps.
The punching equipment he has, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what we used to test. The whole point was to test the wraps.
Oh, okay.
So
that's what they were doing here too. But I guess he initially introduced that with your fighters, maybe. I don't know.
I'm not sure what the timeline. I just knew he had to get so many fighters to hit this pad wearing these wraps. Yeah. So
I think the reason like a lot of listeners don't know what this is because this is only for the elite fighters, right? This is used for them, so
this is probably so they have to be professional athletes. They have to be professional fighters. I try to sneak in some amateurs too, but so actually I've worked with one of this. He used to be Team USA, so he's not a boxer, so he's not a professional, but I got him into that study too.
Oh, okay.
But he's freaking super high level. He just sparred with Canelo about 2 weeks ago. Nice. Canelo called him up, took him down to San Diego for sparring, so that was cool. So we got him into that one. So Galpin's got this punching pad, and it measures essentially everything. Speed, force. Rate of force production, accuracy, timing, everything. And we put on, these wraps that Ryan developed, and we punched the pad as hard as we could. And we read the report.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really cool. It was a really cool experience because, I consider, Dr. Galpin's been very helpful to me.
Right.
And helpful with me, with my fighters. And then when the two worlds kind of came together, it was just like, for me, it was like mind blowing. I was like, this is the coolest day ever.
This is what I've been going to school for my whole life.
Yeah, it was awesome, dude. And Ryan's great. He's super knowledgeable, and he has a lot of good things to say, especially about like you said, coaching. He coaches the coaches. You know what I mean? Yeah. He knows how to handle fighters. He talks about things that really, not essentially strength and conditioning, but more on the psychological or almost like philosophical level, like. These are the fighters we have. I can tell right away when the guy walks in the gym if he's going to be a great fighter, and it's just kind of an instinct or something that you can't really measure or put into words. And that's kind of how I try to follow him. I consider him a mentor as well.
Yeah, nice.
That's cool, dude. I also know that you read a lot of books too.
Yeah, it's because I have no life, man.
That's the life.
Like I said, I broke up with my girlfriend, and then I was like,
You're over here reading 50 Shades of Grey or what?
Nope.
Yeah. No, you do read some like very good books for coaches and strength conditioning. What are some that have come off the top of your head that you would recommend? And these are not textbooks from the university.
These are not textbooks.
These are just books.
Yeah. Well, there's I've read it off the top of my head. The first thing I will say is obviously if you're listening to this podcast, you know where Barbell Shrugged is. Barbell Shrugged is a great podcast, and there's a guy on Barbell Shrugged, Chris Moore. That guy, I don't know. Also, he's kind of like Ryan in regards where he kind of looks at things from a more whole perspective, not just training,
holistic,
but the holistics of it. You know what I mean? The body, the mind, the spirit. And I like to follow him, and he's recommended some really, really great books. I think he puts like an article up maybe a couple weeks ago was like 10 books you need to read to be
the Barbell Buddha. He has that too going on.
So you could start there. But off the top of my head, some great books. On the Warrior's Path. I forgot who wrote it, but dude, that book is just amazing. Yeah, it's just developing a warrior mentality, and it's very, very inspirational to me because I've mentioned to you guys before we started the podcast that I quit my job. I quit everything just to focus on being a strength coach, essentially doing what I wanted to do. And I'm not, and it was hard for a minute, but I'm not concerned about making the most money possible. Or my mom told me when I quit my job, she's like, "Oh, mijo, you should have a different job before you quit this job." I was like, "Mom, I'm going to be successful doing what I want to do, or I'm going to be broke." Yeah. I'm telling you right now. And that's just a lot of that book is very, very, very motivational. Very just the mentality of, hey, this, you got to do what you love, pretty much. That's an awesome book. Some of Chris Moore's books are really great. I think it's called Way Past Strong. That book is awesome. Get Change. I'm right in the middle of Get Change. That one's a good one. I read Anthony Bourdain's, I think it was called Kitchen Confidential. That book was great. Nice. That book was great too. And it was, I was talking to a friend of mine. He was telling me about maybe this isn't, it's not about training. What do you do? They're like, well, there's a lot of, you can tell there's a lot of passion in his words and what he writes. Mm-hmm. And that just translates over. Like, I read something about cooking and it made me want to train harder. Like, I literally went out and just like PR'd on a snatch. Like, you know what I mean? So that to me, that's a great book. To me, that's an awesome book.
Self-knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Always having to thrive to keep learning, and again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Just finding our passion.
Also, I follow some guys. Like, obviously, I follow Chris Moore. Mm-hmm. There's people that I respect in the strength and conditioning world, and I follow them. And the more and more, or not just strength and conditioning world, but the financial world or the business world or whatever it is. And the more and more I follow these people, the more I realize that they're not talking about the X's and O's. I specifically remember reading, I don't remember what it was, but reading something that said, you really, at one point, you got to stop reading all the latest training manuals and all the textbooks, because it doesn't just only get repetitive, but it also starts to conflict. And the truth is, and you guys know this, if you handle things well, almost everything works. You know what I mean? You can become very, very strong doing Olympic lifts. You become very, very strong just doing freaking plyometrics. You can become very, very strong doing bodybuilding stuff. Everything has its role. So everything works. But if you really want to be great at what you do, there's other things that apply. There's a mindset. There's things, like I said, they're like intangible. There's things you can't measure. Mm-hmm. And this is the difference between a good coach who knows what he's talking about and a great coach. A great coach goes beyond the X's and O's, goes beyond these things. And like I said, a lot of that comes back to just having a mindset. Like, I call it like a warrior's mindset.
Yeah, so it seems like we talked a lot about the professional boxers and those people who are, high caliber. But you also work with the general population too, right?
Yes.
So how do you go from being this, strength conditioning guy working with these people who are, about to go and fight on TV to working with the average person who is just trying to lose a few weights, look good?
So one of the ways, and I've kind of had conflicts with other trainers before, like just, personal trainers or wherever. Mm-hmm. I've worked at a couple gyms, but I treat everyone like an athlete. Whether it's a professional athlete or, a middle school kid just trying to make his, high school basketball team, or a soccer mom trying to do a Spartan race, I treat everyone like a not professional athlete, but like an athlete, right? I handle them. I expect this from them. I program for them with the assumption that they're going to give me 100% effort. And I've had a lot of success this way. One of the things we were talking about, again, before we started shooting the podcast was I don't force them to, but I strongly recommend that my clientele compete in something.
Yeah.
I had a young lady run a marathon about like a month ago, and she did it like in 4 hours. She did a great job, right? And just things that she never thought were possible. Yeah. I've had Spartan races. I love Spartan races, and we'll train for them. I'm actually doing the CrossFit Open right now because some of my clients wanted to do it. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do the CrossFit Open. As long as they're always competing, they always stay hungry, they always kind of stay motivated, right? And to me, some people are like, oh, I want to lose some weight, or I want to weigh this much, or I just want to have a six-pack or something. It quickly changes when it's like, oh, I just want to get my first pull-up. I just want to do a pull-up. Exactly. It changes the mindset. Mm-hmm. And then when they get that pull-up, all right, now I want to get 5 pull-ups in a row, or I want to run a mile in less than 8 minutes or something like that. You know what I mean? It just, don't worry about the scale. Exactly. You're going to look good, I promise, but it's a byproduct of this performance that we're working on. You know what I mean?
That's very smart, because a lot of people just focus on the main factor, which is, for the guys, I'm ripped, the abs are coming out, my body fat's coming down, the weight's coming down. But having them, measure themselves physically through competition, sport, that's where, as a trainer, that's where you keep people coming back for, more and more. But for them, it's just...
Also, I don't really consider myself as much a trainer as I call myself a strength coach, or just a coach. You know what I mean? There's more, it's not just about, I'm going to help you do some core exercises so you can do a push-up no, I'm going to coach you through it. Like, I'm going to be motivating to you. When you go out and do your Spartan race, I'm going to be there watching. You know what I mean? There's a whole support system that comes along with it, not just being a trainer.
Got it. Nice. Good correction there. So, working with general population, you're working with athletes. You got your bachelor's. What else do you want to do as far as certifications? Do you need that? With what you're doing?
Yeah, most definitely. I would recommend getting certifications. You're NSCA, correct?
Yeah. ACSM too?
Yeah. CSCS is a great one. I would just, if you get anything, get a CSCS.
Yeah, definitely.
You know
That's
what I
the way
mean?
to go. Get CSCS yourself.
CSCS, like, you'd be like a trainer, super trainer.
Just the fact that you need a bachelor's degree to get the CSCS says a lot about it.
Yeah,
you can't go study on a weekend and get a certification and have that be the CSCS, because that won't happen. You need a 4 years bachelor's degree. Yeah. Which is great. That just kind of sets it apart from everything else.
Yeah, so I would say go for the CSCS. As far as certification goes, there's a lot of things you can do. Like, you can do USA weightlifting, you can do CrossFit level 1 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, you can do a lot of things, but I would say if you have like the means to do it, do as much as you can. Mm-hmm. Go to seminars, go to conferences, always keep learning, read books, and get certified in anything that you really feel is important.
What upcoming seminar for the NSCA are you going to be going to?
So in March, I will head out to Colorado Springs to the Olympic Training Center to do a combat sports conference.
Nice.
So I'm excited for that one. Galpin's going to be presenting. Ryan Parsons going to be presenting. Joel Jameson's going to be presenting.
Nice.
And actually, I've been a big fan of him even before I was, here at Cal State Fullerton. I thought Joel Jameson was, a cool guy. So I would follow him. Lauren Lando is going to be presenting. He's awesome. Nice. He trained, he just trained cats in Colorado. But he's trained so many great athletes. Rob Schwartz is going to be there. He does the strength conditioning for Adrian Broner. So I'm very interested in hearing what he has to say. They're going to have some athletes there. I know Shane Carwin's going to be there. Okay. Yeah, so it's going to be a good time. I'm really excited for that. Nice. A little bit, got to buy a plane ticket and a hotel room, but it's going to be well worth it, I'm sure.
Maybe we can have another podcast just talking about that. Hey, actually record that.
You guys want to have, in fact, you guys got to get on the plane, get out there, and we'll do a podcast from the Combat Sports Conference.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. But I think just in general, it'd be good for coaches, students to be going to those events. Oh, yeah. If it's because a lot of it, we go to the ACSM. I think that our university, we host that, our kinesiology program, we host it here. But the other conferences, right, that are in California,
do them. Just do them. Like I said in the beginning, just being around people who share knowledge. If I've noticed this where if people really know what they're talking about, they're so eager to share. Yeah. And I've gotten so much. The day that Ryan Parsons came to speak to the class and we went afterwards, just a couple words, they go a long way. Yeah. Just like, hey, well, he talked about this. Now I'm going to go home and I'm going to research it. I've said this a couple times where, sitting in Galpin's office, just talking, and maybe he doesn't realize, but he'll set me off to something, an idea, and then I'll just follow up on that. And next thing you know, this has become a core part of my training system. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's small conferences. I know, I don't know if you guys know, Juggernaut Training Systems. They're going to do a squatting seminar at a CrossFit Tustin. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be there. This guy squats like 900 pounds. I'm going to be there to see what he has to say. You know what I mean? Yeah. So little things like that, they don't have to be huge conferences, but it's always worth it.
Yeah, and I think they're all you could think of it as a puzzle. They're all little pieces to the puzzle that you kind of, in your head is a puzzle. You just kind of connect it. And that's what makes you a better strength coach from somebody who just sits in Galpin's class or Dr. Coburn's class or Dr. Brown's class or any class in general and just goes and thinks they know everything. Oh, I know this. I passed certification, but have never in their life applied anything or have never trained anybody or even themselves. And that's what kind of sets you apart, definitely.
It's fun stuff. I kind of have this rule. I got it from, I think I heard it on the internet somewhere, but I like it. So it's called the rule of 33, right? So you should spend 33% of your time with people who are not quite at the level that you are yet, whether it's strength-wise or financial-wise or business-wise. Mentor them, help them out, be a part of their learning process. Yeah. You should also spend 33% of the time with people who are on your level and kind of help each other out, learn from each other, and grow. And the last 33%, which I consider the most important, is you have to spend 33% of your time with people who are significantly better than you at what you do. You know what I mean? So seek out your professors, seek out the seminar. Just be in that atmosphere, be near them, have a conversation with them, try to catch them while they're walking to their car, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Be a stalker, dude. It's all good. You know what I mean?
I like that rule.
They're going to help you out.
I think the last 33% is where we spent time with the podcast.
Exactly. I think so too. Yeah.
What happened?
Like the 33% that you said, kind of reaching out or kind of learning from other. I think that's kind of where this podcast comes from. Like we're... kind of getting people from different areas.
Anthony, you're someone, dude.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna steal that one from you.
I'm gonna consider this a 33% time that I spend with people not quite, not just with.
And cut.
Yeah. Right? Oh, this isn't going up. No. Yeah, I like that one. I'm gonna steal that one. And like I said when Dwayne was here, I forgot where I read this, but there's this saying that I kind of ties back to what you said. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Exactly.
You know, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, and exactly what you just said right now. It's a great point to make, that you don't even remember where you heard it, but it's stuck with you. And
Exactly.
this is why you need to go out and be with people who are just
Yeah.
wait. There's a financial like kind of little phrase where you're gonna be your financial like income is gonna be the average of the 10 people you spend the most time with.
True.
So
Very
if
true.
you spend your time with people who are the same amount of money, you're gonna make the same amount of money.
Yeah.
If you want to have $1 million company, spend time with someone who has a $10 million company. Right? Learn from them.
Yep. This is great stuff.
You've been reading, dude.
This is great stuff. No.
Like I said, I have no life.
And like you said, like you just said, you don't even know where you picked this up from. It could be from a video you saw on YouTube, from a conference, from you sitting there talking to Galpin's office or whatever. And
Yeah.
I don't know, anything. It's just you connect the puzzle, and that's what makes you stronger. Getting little things from different sources.
Yeah,
Not
it's
just strength and conditioning.
And it seems like you're doing a very good job of still developing, growing, not just with strength and conditioning, but I'm talking about holistically, right? You're still doing your thing. What are your future goals, plans? What are you trying to do like in the next few years?
So I have a handful of projects that I'm working on. Obviously, I love working with athletes. This was my primary goal when, like I said, I quit my job. I quit everything. You know, my company just dropped everything and said, "This is what I want to do." But I've also been approached to kind of help out, make a supplement line. So I'm doing my research on that right now, where I wanted to be legit. You know what I mean? This is something that I want to take. This is something that I want my athletes to take, and I'm excited for that. So we're just barely getting that process going, where we're doing the research and figuring out. Essentially, I got a friend of mine who's a chemist or something. She's helping me out with that. You know what I mean? I've also got a couple people, like, as far as networking goes, where I know several people who put out their own supplement lines already. I've set up meetings with them.
Nice.
Even I sent Galpin a short little email just asking him about supplements, and he's been helpful as well. So I'm working on that. I have Juarez Strength, which is my strength conditioning. This is myself pretty much. You know what I mean? So I'm training. I have private clients. I have professional athletes. I have some few collegiate athletes, and I have dozens and dozens and dozens of high school athletes, because I've been coaching high school sports for 7 years now.
Nice.
I'm getting old, man.
So you're 35, right?
I'm 25. Other things, I'm just having fun. I'm working on putting up a blog hopefully soon. I'm on a podcast called the Kinesiology 101 Cast.
That's a good start.
That was pretty cool.
Let's go back to the supplement thing. Like that just come to you? Is that just an opportunity that came to you, or did you kind of reach out to that?
Like I said, I've had help. I've had people help me out with supplement stuff. I don't, just pretend to know everything. I actually seek out information, like I've been talking about. And what happened was, I have a client who was looking for a specific, adaptation, and he's asked me about supplements that are going to help him achieve this adaptation. So naturally, first we pointed him in, a good diet, a balanced diet, or a healthy diet, quality diet, really, and then quality training. And if he's really looking for that extra boost, we kind of had a little bit of trouble finding exactly what he was looking for. Like, he was kind of specific in that I want to do this, and I'm trying not to reveal too much information here, but I want to do this, and I had a little bit of trouble finding, how. Or a supplement, just like an all-in-one supplement that was going to do what he wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you can buy these 3, or you can buy this one and this one, or you can buy that. You know what I mean? Mm. So he kind of came at me and was like, why don't you make your own supplement? And I was like, I guess, I don't really know how I was even started about doing that. Well,
get some Kool-Aid, put some beta-alanine.
Put some Kool-Aid, a little protein in there. But, so he came back. I trained him, I think it was like a Monday. And he came back on a Wednesday, and he already had a bunch of information on how to get this started. And I was like, "Oh, so you're serious? Like, we're really doing this?" Yeah, he's a very successful individual. He's someone I actually consider, like, I train him, strength conditioning. So far, I help him. I'm his trainer. I help him get in shape and stuff. But he helps me out a lot too. And he probably doesn't know this, but I kind of pick his brain when we're training financial wise. Like, he's a very successful.
He knows, dude.
Yeah, he knows. Well, he probably knows, but like I said, people that know, they're very willing to share.
Yeah.
And he's had a lot of great advice, a lot of influence on me. And so if he was willing to back me in this venture, this supplement venture, as long as we can put together a good product, dude, and like I said, if he can back me financially, I say, let's do it. I said, I'm going to give this 100% and put out the best product that I possibly can.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's when grad school comes in.
Yeah, that's what I say. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a grad student either, but like I said, I'll do the best job that I can and hit up some people and hopefully they give me some good advice.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
That's good stuff.
It's very cool, though. Just the idea of you being part of something you develop and then you go into grad school, you test it out here, at least, with research.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Where can people find you, Anthony? Or where are you training at? Where on website, blog? Where you at, dude? Where you at?
My mom wants to train with you. My grandma wants to train with you. Where can they find you?
All right, so I'm based out of downtown Santa Ana. I train at a gym. Well, right now I currently train out of a gym called Elite Fitness downtown Santa Ana.
Okay.
So you can find me there on the Elite Fitness downtown website. I have not got a website yet. I'm working on that. I know you wanted to get the Juarez Strength name, but it's not going to happen. I'm telling you right now. But I have a Facebook page. I actually just recently got it up. It's called Juarez Strength, my last name, Strength. You can find me on Instagram, again, Juarez Strength. You can find me on Twitter, Juarez Strength. Slowly but surely, I'm kind of, figuring things out. Yeah. Where, when I first started, I was almost primarily word of mouth. You know what I mean? I kind of got thrown into the mix with the boxing stuff. Like, they threw me right into the center stage, which was great because I really blossomed. But as far as, I think Galpin said in his class before, it doesn't matter how many pro athletes you get, you're going to make money off the public. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I, slowly started picking up clients, and it became a word of mouth thing. So I picked up plenty of clients. I have plenty of work, and without ever actually doing too much marketing. But now, as I'm getting, more experienced, more developed, a little bit older, I'm starting to actually branch out and do some marketing. Yeah. So I got to get that, everything straightened away. Yeah. And but like I said, you can come find me downtown Santa Ana. I like to go to C4 in the corner and drink beer.
Cool.
I can tell. Appreciate
that.
So
I'm leaving.
Any last word of advice for anybody who wants to follow at least the path that you're doing with coaching athletes in general?
Just don't be afraid. If you want to, I know you had someone last week. I believe his name was Anthony as well. He wants to coach high school athletes. Go coach high school athletes. You go be assistant coach. Go be ball boy. Whatever it is. Even at the high school level, there's some great coaches out there. There's people that are very knowledgeable. I have Coach Larry Isaacs. He helped me out so much developing my own high school. Like I said, I coach high school basketball. We didn't really talk about that either. But he helped me in developing a high school basketball training, like year-long training program. A lot. He's been a huge influence on me. If you want to be, a boxing coach, go get punched in the face. You know what I mean? Go learn how to box. Don't be afraid to talk, Essentially, I always say, I kind of got into the boxing world by talking shit. You know what I mean? I went in, I saw their trainer, and I started talking shit to him. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you should come to work out with me, man, to see what happens. He's like, all right. He actually took me up, and that's how everything kind of got going. But don't be afraid. Go into places. Go. If you want to be a fighter, go train. If you want to coach fighters, talk to their coaches. Go to seminars. Go to conferences. Intern. Dude, I wish I would have interned somewhere. I really do. Like I said, I kind of got thrown into the mix right away. I should have been interning everywhere I could. Now that I'm a little bit older, I'm actually looking for places to intern. Places that are established, places, people that I trust, people that I believe in. So as much as you can, just kind of, I would say, just kind of dive in. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. That's a good piece to wrap this show on. Well, thank you for being on here. Appreciate your time. We're going to definitely keep in touch because you have a lot of good stuff coming your way.
For real. Definitely. No worries, guys. Oh, one more thing before I go. Make sure you guys tune into Fox Sports 1 this the 20th. March 20th. Yeah, my boy Ronnie Rio is going to put in work. I guarantee it.
Right on.
Right. I want to see all you guys out there watching that. Tweet about it. Support us. Go on
Hashtag Juarez Strength.
Hashtag Juarez Strength. Like my page.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a wrap.
Cool.
Thank you, guys.